Can we use this? Is this fine? Is this fine without mic?
It'd be nice if you could use it.
Cool. Hi. So today I'm going to talk about the road to the Internet of Agents. Brief introduction about me. So I have a PhD in algorithmic pricing from Columbia. Then I was working at Lyft for a long time. I was a research scientist. Then I led the driver marketplace. And now I'm working at this group within the Ethereum Foundation called Robust Incentives Group. So we mainly work on resource pricing, MEV, but lately we've done a lot of work around crypto plus AI, especially the incentives part. And all these worlds are coming together, hopefully, in this vision that I'm going to talk to you about. Yeah, so what is the Internet of Agents? So essentially, if you zoom out, what's going to happen over the next few years is the current paradigm of interconnectivity is going to change. We're going to augment it with incentives, modern cryptography, and this is going to enable an economy of AI agents with more security, more efficiency, and ultimately maximizing collaborative potential between the human principles of these agents. So here I'm plotting more or less where we are now. So for the past 50 to 70 years, we've already had AI or machine learning assistants, both individuals and businesses have leveraged this technology in various ways, but it was not really autonomous. It was for very specialized tasks. This is part of the job I was doing when I was at Lyft. But now with essentially this new type of architectures and with the scaling laws that have been proved in studies, we are going to accelerate into this new era, which is the era of agents. And eventually, we'll have AGI, but I stay away from the hype and things like that. I'm going to focus on the next 10 to 20 years. So why is this happening now? So the first is AI scaling laws. We already have these very capable agents that, as was said before, they passed the Turing test. Actually, they blew over the Turing test. But more importantly, there is proven scaling laws that this intelligent explosion is not going to stop. It's just going to accelerate. So if we fast forward, you can imagine a world in which there is billions of agents that are producing content, decision, and they're interacting in a very high frequency economy, sub-second time frame. And as this system becomes mature, we are going to delegate high-stake decisions and decisions that have public impact to these agents, right? And this is in the financial world, in social interactions, and in R&D. So it's natural, this calls for a new type of infrastructure that we don't have today. The current internet is not fit for it. We need a way to create new markets to orchestrate, regulate, and essentially channel the forces of different specialized agent swarms. So what I'm going to argue is that blockchains are actually the ideal substrate for this. So if we look at what blockchains offer today, there is a few properties that insiders know and love and fight for it. So we have decentralization, we have economic incentives, we have cryptographic guarantees, and we have openness and composability. And then we can look at what agentic AI or new forms of AI need, right? They need safety, they need alignment. Users, like humans using this system, they need control and they need privacy. And we also need to figure out a way to own these systems and to potentially share them among communities. So if you try to map this, you can actually see that we cover all the needs. And finally, we also have blockchain scalability, like in Ethereum with layer 2s, high throughput chains. So it does feel that this is an ideal substrate, and it feels that we are getting closer, or we need to get closer to these communities. Okay, yeah. So before talking about how do we get to this world of agentic AI operating on blockchains, What I want to say is, like, number one, what I'll be talking about, like, the Internet of Agents is different than the AI supply chain, which, like, a lot of people that work in crypto intersection with AI think about, right? So, like, the supply chain is essentially you need model architectures, you need compute resources, and you need training data, and then you put them into some, like, magic training process, and you get a capable AI. And I feel that, like, within crypto and, like, incentive systems, there is a lot of space to innovate in any aspect of the supply chain. But what I want to talk about is, like, assume that there is intelligent agents, and let's say each one of us, or, like, each community gets an agent, right? And then what kind of system do we need to build on the blockchain so that, like, we achieve, like, security, efficiency of, like, interaction? So here, essentially, like, the agent is acting on the blockchain for you, is reading data from the blockchain, like a past state, current state, and you are not alone, right? There is, like, other people with their agent transacting. There is communities that own agents, direct agents, and there is also, like, agent swarms. So essentially, like, what the focus is going to be about is, like, okay, what protocols, what system do we need to build to coordinate all these activities? So yeah, and, like, basically I'm going to paint a road, like, which has 3 main steps. So the first one is going to be about augmenting current applications. The second one, building new mechanisms that are catered directly to agent users instead of human users. And then there is the question of ownership and governance, where, like, crypto, like, as it was said before as well, like, it really has a lot to offer. And then there is a parallel trend which are directly working on, which is how, like, while building this, you also need to accelerate cooperative AI research, which is right now a niche field, but we have the feeling that it will become, like, more and more important. So the first example, like, augmenting current applications, like, few projects have been thinking about this already. Essentially, you can automate actions in different areas, user intent matching, action planning and routing, shared asset management. There is a lot of application, like, already on systems that are on the blockchain today, like training, risk management, and also resource procurement, including, like, L2s, AVSs, or types of compute that use the blockchain. Like, they could benefit for, like, some incremental automation. But you can already see that, like, in all these applications, you start putting, like, stake into some automated decision-making system, into some agentic AI. So you need inference guarantees, right? And essentially, like, there is a few ways, actually, like, the ways in which you can get these guarantees are increasing, right? One, like, that people have tried historically is, like, you run your own agent network of chain with its own security assumption. This could be, like, secured by restaking. It could be, like, an L1 of its own and secured by its own, like, native incentives. The other way is that you build an orchestration protocol on the host chain with contracts that require some proof of inference for action validity. And here, like, there is a lot of very interesting technology around, like, zero knowledge ML and also optimistic ML, like submitting optimistic proofs. The costs are going down. Actually, optimistic ML is much cheaper, but we are at the first experiment, but you can already see that, like, these use cases are going to be soon enabled. So this is the first step. So the second step is we cannot just, like, do some automation that's maybe going to improve, like, by 10, 20% the efficiency of the current systems. we need to build new mechanisms that really leverage agents, right? And there is a few examples of this. I'm going to go over one of them, which is AI prediction markets, right? So essentially, prediction markets are markets where you try to predict a future event in a decentralized way by having people bidding on certain outcomes, right? And today, these are really constrained by essentially human cognition, as Matt was saying before. There is certain events where long tail events where we cannot assess these probabilities. But AI could help with this, right? So we could create market for a whole range of long tail events. And these prediction markets could serve as a piece of decentralized infrastructure, right? So one example is content moderation on social network, especially now that we start having some decentralized social networks with availability of data. Essentially, you could think that you could run a prediction market for every post, right? And AIs are going to bid trying to predict whether this is admissible or not versus some term of use, some constitution, some rules. So this is an example of the hyper long tail events. And there is other interesting example DAO compensation, microinsurance, and hedging. So what do these AI prediction markets need? We need mechanisms for efficient price discovery and credible market resolution, which I argue that this can be done with AIs and some smart incentives around protocols for market resolution. But then the other interesting part is you also need a market creation mechanism. And this can be either specific to some problem, there is a DAO that wants to figure out compensation. They don't have specialized skills to assess that, so they outsource to an AI. Or it could be crowdsourced, essentially. Yeah, we have a few ideas on this, but this is kind of the summary of what the needs are. Okay, so the third step I'm going to talk about is actually what makes me very excited about bringing together AIs and blockchain, because it's something that all AI labs today, they start to struggle with. I mean, not in the technology they are building for today, but in the way they think about, okay, what are we going to do in the future where all the world is using my system? So the question is ownership and governance, right? And traditional companies are not very good at societal scale or ownership and governance, but blockchains are. And there is a lot of possible configurations here, and it's a big design space. But I just want to give a hint of what blockchains can enable here. So the first aspect is governance, right? And there is this spectrum between minimal governance and where this is sort of similar to the Bitcoin protocol, where you don't really change much. And on the other side, there is DAO governance, essentially where maybe you have a more malleable system. And then the other piece is ownership, right? So once there are these powerful AIs that are creating wealth for society, who's going to own them? And one aspect is direct ownership, and the other one is shared ownership. And already today, between projects that are working on agentic AI, there is different configurations, right? One is Autonomous that as a fairly rich economy with their token, and they're experimenting with share ownership models. And they also have a DAO that can control default parameters and some high-level decision of the system. On the other end of the spectrum, there is Morpheus, which is a new project building smart agents, where the philosophy there is a little bit more similar to Bitcoin, where you kind of freeze the protocol, and there is incentive structures that are ingrained in the protocol, but it's kind of too early, right? You don't know very well like which contributors like will be most impactful. You don't know what applications people are going to build on your protocol. So it's kind of very difficult to do, but it's a point in the space, and maybe micro prediction market, AI prediction market could be a solution here, actually. So finally, I want to talk about the parallel trend of accelerating R&D in cooperative AI, which is kind of an area where my group is like more closely directly working on. And in particular, we're looking at 3 areas. So the first one is like multi-agent scaling laws. So this is similar to like the scaling laws in traditional AIs, but looking at the performance of the systems as the number of agents scale, or the variety, like the specialization of agent scales. The second is coordination capabilities in synthetic environment. So here we've already done a bunch of work. We have a paper from our group on bidding wars in on-chain auctions. So like essentially like testing various strategies between different bots. And we also built a very simple like simulation framework where people can like build RL agents and test them in this environment. Like similar you can do like for a lot of different markets that are on chain. And the last areas is blockchain-based games with real stake. So here like the prediction market example is one of them. Another super interesting application is actually like routing between different AI models. So these are the 3 areas that we are mostly involved with, and I'll conclude with this, but if you're interested, please come talk to me after. Thank you.